Hey guys, I know that there was some issues today with Zoom, and I know a lot of you were getting kicked out, and there were some parts of today's lecture that you were missing. Because it is kind of important, I thought I would take a few minutes just to hit those highlights again of how to structure your narrative presentation. And again, we can still discuss this on Friday. We have time, or next week, so feel free to ask more questions, but again, I wanted to break that down. So remember, your narrative speeches are a speech where you're telling a story that has a lesson or a point to it. It's 3 to 5 minutes. You don't have to turn in a written form of it. You don't need a visual aid, and you can use one little index card for notes if you need it, because you're going to be delivering it in an extemporaneous style. So prepared and practiced, but delivered somewhat conversationally, still more formal than conversation, but so that it flows and sounds natural. When you're giving your presentation, when you're writing it out, you're going to have an intro, a body, and a conclusion. So in the intro, the very first thing you have to do is you have to gain our attention. So you got to have a hook. When I gave my skydiving story, I asked a question as a way to gain attention, to get you involved in what I was talking about. Asking a question, that's just one of many ways. I'd like to see what you can bring to the table to gain our attention. Once you've gained our attention, the other two things that you have to do is you have to state your thesis, and in this case, this is going to be the moral or the lesson that we should be taking in the story. And this can be, you can overtly talk about it, or you can at least hint at what the lesson should be, so we kind of know what to listen for. And then the other thing is you want to try to make sure that we can understand the relevance, or why it may apply to us as well. Once you do that, you want to have a a transition statement, right? So you want to transition into your story so it's not choppy sounding. And then you can actually tell the story. And you're going to tell the story using the dramatic curve, right? It's a 4-point part process. So the first thing you do is you kind of lay out the foundation. Here are the people, here's the setting, the occasion, and you start to get that emotional vibe. Is your story funny or sad or serious, or whatever? Start laying that foundation down. Once you've kind of set the scene, then you start the second phase, which is the rising action. So this is when you begin to tell your story, and you begin to tell the events of the story, or the elements of the story. And you kind of start layering that emotion. So it's getting funnier and funnier, sadder and sadder, more and more dramatic, whatever the case of it is. And you're kind of building it up. Remember, you've got to go linearly to make sure that your information is organized. You're going chronologically. You're not skipping things because you can't go back in time. You got to keep moving forward with your story. So really get that down pat. And then you're going to build to the third part, which is at the top of the curve, which is the climax. So this is kind of what we've been working towards. So this is where maybe the action happened, or the lesson is learned, or it is kind of the focal point of the story. And it doesn't have to be grand or big. It can be something smaller, but you can tell that we've been building to this point in time. And then the last part is the resolution. So then what? So what happens after the climax? What happened to the people? What did we learn? That kind of thing. So wrap it up for us, right? Have some resolution. And that's kind of the end of the story portion of it, but not the end of your speech. The end of your speech is your conclusion. So after you finish your story, you really want to come in with a conclusion, do two things. You want to reinforce what the moral of the story was, what the lesson we should have gotten from it, really hit us over the head with that. And then the second thing is I want you to really think about that ending statement. What are you going to say at the very end? Know what that sentence is and practice it so that it comes out and we can hear that that's the end of your story, right? Make it solid. And it should not be thank you, or I'm done talking, or the end, right? You need to think about what that last statement is going to be. Some key things to remember. You want to make sure that your lesson or your moral of your story is not cliche, right? So live life to the fullest, or tomorrow's never promised. Those are cliches. Even if that's the point of your story, reword it so that it sounds a little bit more original, right? Again, keep linear, keep moving. You can't go back. Embellish a little if it makes for a good story, and practice that ending statement. All right. Again, guys, we'll talk more about this in class if you have questions, but I just wanted to give you that little tidbit of information again really quickly, just in case you needed it. All right. I'll see you guys soon.